Hello and welcome to the Day Ahead. It is Tuesday, October the 28th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local market is set for a negative start with ASX futures off by more than 0.4%. Global stocks have rallied to a fresh record while gold has fallen sharply on US-China trade optimism. Wall Street's main indices extended Friday's record closing highs as investors look to this week's meeting between President Trump and Chinese President Xi, as well as being buoyed by the prospect of a likely rate cut from the Fed. Earnings results also loom large, with 5 of the Mag 7 reporting this week. Amazon shares are on the move after reportedly planning to cut as many as 30,000 corporate jobs immediately as the company works to reduce expenses and compensate for overhiring during the peak demand of the pandemic. Qualcomm unveiled 2 AI chips for data centres that will be available next year, diversifying beyond a stagnant smartphones market, sending its shares soaring. Shares of chip companies rose in anticipation of the meeting between US and Chinese leaders, while US-listed shares of Chinese companies also rallied on the day. Beverage maker Keurig Dr Pepper climbed after lifting its annual sales forecast and raising about $7 billion to finance its purchase of Dutch coffee giant JDE Peet's. Lululemon shares rose after the company announced a partnership with the National Football League to launch an apparel collection. Janus Henderson shares rallied after it confirmed an acquisition proposal from Trion and General Catalyst. And shares of the gold miners fell heavily on the pullback in the bullion price. Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock has said that its policy setting board will need to factor in developments in the labour market and inflation when it meets next week. Addressing economists last night, she said, "So we'll do our best guess at what we think we know. On that basis, we can make some decisions about whether or not there's some more interest rate cuts in that to address perhaps the employment market, or whether we're a little bit more worried about the inflation rate." Meanwhile, President Trump has announced a series of deals on trade and critical minerals with 4 Southeast Asian nations during his Asian tour. This comes ahead of his meeting with Chinese President Xi in South Korea on Thursday, where tariffs and Chinese rare earth export controls will be discussed. And Argentina's bonds, stocks and currency have surged after President Javier Milei's party won an overwhelming majority in the midterm elections, with voters strongly backing his free market reforms and austerity measures. Ahead of this week's Federal Reserve meeting, the US 2-year Treasury yield is around 3.5%, the 10-year down to 4%. Australian 3-year government bond yields rose to 3.46%, with markets pricing in a 35% chance the cash rate will be cut by 25 basis points at next week's meeting, with 2 more cuts in this easing cycle. The US dollar index is down slightly on the day. The Aussie dollar has climbed to 65.5 US cents. Oil prices are slightly lower, with traders more focused on OPEC's plans to increase oil output than hopes of a trade deal between the US and China. Brent crude futures down 0.5% at $65 a barrel. Copper was up almost 1%, iron ore rising close to 1.5% to $106 a tonne, and gold has fallen below $4,000 on signs of a thaw in US-China trade tensions. Spot gold down 3% at $3,980 an ounce. And Bitcoin has risen to above $114,000. On the corporate calendar today, quarterly results expected from Liontown Resources and Nickel Industries. And Austal, Credit Corp and CSL are due to hold their AGMs. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.